Welcome back to Charity Farms. My name is Teresa, but you can call me T. Today we're going to discuss seed starting. I'm actually going to walk you through all the soil that I actually use, why I use the soil that I'm actually using, and how I plant my seeds. The other thing I'm going to show you is how I save my seeds and protect them from water damage. There's a story to that, which will be in the video as well. For gardeners, seed starting is a joyous time. We actually look forward to the day that we can actually start growing seeds, and it's miraculous because you see God's work in the seed itself, how it starts as a seed and it becomes a vegetable, and how it pushes through the soil with the energy that God gave it in that seed. It's a very joyous occasion to see how God works in such a complexity that seems so simple to us. It also comforts me because I know that when I'm having difficult times, if I look at the seed and how that seed pushes through that soil because God gave it the energy it needed to do that, He'll be with me to get through my difficult times, to push through my soil as well. I hope that this encourages you and that you're looking forward to do seed starting. Here's the video. When first starting seeds, I want to make sure I have the right soil and it is easily accessible where I will be starting my seeds. I find it easier to have a container, which I have bought from Lowe's, and mix everything accordingly. The soil I have on hand is for raised beds, so I just need to blend a few more ingredients to make a nice soil for my seeds. I am only filling the container in sections because I want to ensure that all the ingredients are going to be well married. Once I have added my soil, I'm adding 30% peat moss to the amount of soil that I have placed in the container. This is a controversial subject because you can also use coconut coir. What is the difference between peat moss and coconut coir? According to Homes and Garden, peat moss has been a favorite among gardeners for over 50 years now, but we are being urged to consider its impact and look for peat moss alternatives. Coconut coir is one of the most popular substitutes around, but does that too come with potential long-term concerns? Sustainability is a key phrase in modern gardening, and the impact of growing media we choose is top of the list of things that need rethinking. When considering what growing media to use, you have to consider its benefits and how it will help your plants, as well as the wider consequences. We take a look at the pros and the cons of both peat moss and coconut coir to try to help you find the solution to this problematic gardening quandary. Peat moss is a traditional growing media made from decomposed Chatham moss that is prevalent in peat bogs. It has been a popular choice for improving soil health and fertility since the middle of the 20th century, as a medium is primarily great at holding water and nutrients. The pros of peat moss. Peat is made from partially decomposed plants and organic matter, and that contributes to the fact it is high in nutrients and has strong water holding abilities. It is regarded that peat moss can soak up to 20 times its own weight in water, which it will then release slowly to plants. As well as water retaining capabilities, peat moss can also improve soil texture in backyard beds, raised beds, or in container gardening. Mary Vargo, Clemson University Urban Horticulture Agent and Master Gardener Coordinator, says that peat moss is easy to work with, inexpensive, and easy to find in stores, and that is suitable for all kinds of uses in gardening. She adds, peat moss is typically used to amend planting medium recipe mixes. This varies from seed starting mixes, potting mixes, etc. Peat moss can also be used outdoors, mixed into a planting bed, and is often added to soil to lighten, aerate, and help retain moisture in areas where soil may be compacted and drainage is an issue. Cons of peat moss. The main issue with peat moss is with regards to sustainability, and gardeners around the world are being advised to stop using the material and look around for alternatives. The harvesting of peat moss destroys habitats, and such peat bogs take centuries to form and cannot quickly be replenished. As such, peatlands absorb carbon dioxide, so destroying them contribute to global warming. Global warming is a whole new subject that I will discuss in a different video, so we'll address that later. Sales of peat and peat moss to amateur gardeners will be banned by 2024 in the UK. There is no such ban on the horizon in North America, however, where Canada is the source for most of the peat moss on the market. Away from the sustainability side, another negative to peat moss is that it has a pH of around 3.5 to 4, which is more acidic than many plants prefer and can make soil more acidic over time. What is coco coir? Coco coir has become increasingly popular as an alternative to peat moss in recent years. The material is a byproduct of coconut production, where the fibers of the coconut husks are processed into a peat-like substance. Coco coir is commonly used as a liner for hanging baskets and also as an eco-friendly growing media for both seeds, compost, and potting mixes. It is bought to be added to home compost mixes such as organic gardening coir from Burpee. You see biodegradable pots made from coir, and it's popular as hydroponic growing medium. In my last 5 years as a professional gardener, the gardeners I worked in primarily used peat-free compost that incorporated coir for both starting seeds and potting on plants. What are the pros of coco coir? Coir does have a great water holding capacity. It actually holds more water than peat moss. However, it does not hold the water as long as peat moss would. It is easier to re-wet when it dries out than peat moss is. The pH of coir is less acidic than peat moss, usually a pH from 5.8 to 6.8, and that makes it closer to the ideal levels for many plants. Coir can also last a long time in the soil as it decomposes slowly over 2 to 3 years, and it also improves the aeration of any soil types. Coir does have a high cation exchange capacity, meaning it stores nutrients until they're needed by plants and then releases them slowly over time. As a waste product from coconut production and the fact coconuts readily grow on trees, coir is always available as a product and more sustainable than peat moss. Coir can be used in the same various ways as peat moss, including as a potting soil, top dressing, or as a type of mulch. Mary Vargo from Clemson University adds, for folks wanting to get away from using so much peat, coco coir is one of the few options available in the market for starting seeds. It looks and feels similar to peat moss. What are the cons of coco coir? A disadvantage of coir is that it does not have much in the way of nutrients itself and needs extra fertilizer to provide plants with all the nutrients they desire. Though it does hold water, it is not always evenly distributed. The soil may look dry at the top of a pot, for example, but be wet at the bottom, so it always needs checking down into the soil when it comes to when to water your plants. Coir often comes as a compressed block that expands in volume when water is added, so when the material does dry out, it can be liable to compact. An example of coir blocks is the organic coconut coir concrete seed starting soil 2-pack at Burpee. There are also some questions about the overall environmental impact of coir. Ruth Hayes, gardening expert from Homes and Garden, mentions some concerns that have been brought up by gardeners about the environmental and human costs of such substitutes for peat moss. She says, farmed in the Far East, swaths of natural forests are being destroyed to make way for palm plantations. Vast amounts of fresh water are needed to make the coir usable, and it then has to be transported around the world, adding to its carbon footprint. I am using peat moss because the soil I have on hand is dry. It needs all the help it can get to distribute water evenly. I'm breaking up the peat moss and mixing it in as I want to ensure my ingredients are well married. Next, I am adding 10% vermiculite. This promotes faster seed germination and helps with aeration and also improves moisture retention. I'm also adding 10% perlite, which insulates the roots to protect the plants from temperature changes. This also helps with aeration and drainage. I am mixing all my ingredients again to ensure they have been well married. My formula is 50% soil, 30% peat moss or coco coir, 10% vermiculite and perlite. Then I fill the second half the same way as the first. I take the time to break up all clumps along the way. This will help my ingredients to marry well. Now my soil is ready to use, and I have it next to my working table. The next thing I am doing is placing all the seeds I intend to start on the table along with the containers that will be needed. This will give me an easier workflow. I'm getting the potting mix that we just mixed together into my seed starting containers. Then I will place them in the tray that will hold the water. I am gathering the seeds that I want on this flat. Next, I'm using frog tape to mark on my markers what I am starting. I like to use frog tape because it is easy to peel off when I'm done with it, but will not come off while I'm using it. Using frog tape for my markers allows me to keep them for the next succession of seeds. I grab the marker for the seed I am planting in the container and plant the pepper seeds on top. The rule of thumb is double the depth of width of the seed. For peppers and tomatoes, I place the seed on top and just press in. Next to me, while I'm planting my seeds, is a notebook which I use to let me know what I have planted, the estimated germination rate, who I have planted it for, and how many I have planted. I use this information to place into my spreadsheet. I have a Mac, so I use numbers, but if you have Windows, it will be Excel. In the first column, it is the seed that I have planted. Each seed will have its own row. From the left to the right in each column, I have an indication of what is going on with each seed that has been planted. For me, I need to have a column for each of the following: from aquaponics start date, from hydroponics start date, from seed start date, transplant from aquaponics to starter date, transplant from hydroponics to starter date, transplant for seed to bigger starter date, estimated germination date, actual germination date, estimated date of maturity, actual date of maturity, the prune date, the scorch level if applicable, how I am preserving throughout the year, how many seeds I usually plant 2 in each container, and then for whom, and notes. For each new seed packet that I open, I place in a clear plastic bag and mark the bag as well. You can pick up these plastic bags online through Amazon or at Walmart through your craft section. The reason why I do this is because living in Arizona, it gets hot, which means I sweat when I need to protect the seeds when I'm direct sowing. The other reason is because I'm a klutz, and if I spill any liquid on my seed packet while I'm starting them, I ruin my seeds. I did not used to mark the bags until 2 summers ago. I was direct sowing a variety of onions in the ground, and I forgot to place the bags into the proper packaging to know which ones they were. So I have 3 packets of seeds together that are different varieties, but all onions because I do not know which one belongs to which. Now I mark the bags as well because I know I will get busy and forget to place back into the proper packaging. Please let me know in the comments below what you have done in the past due to any oopsie daisies you might have done as well. I know that this is the time for seed starting. It does depend on your zone, which I will link below the zones that you'll know when to start. Until next time, I bless you. Bye.